All right, what's up, everybody? We're going to dive right into the art of war for this episode of Stand Tall. We are in Chapter 8, Variation in Tactics. It is Wednesday, March 6th. So we're diving in with verse 6, Chapter 8. So the student of war who is unversed in the art of war of varying his plans, even though he be acquainted with the 5 advantages, will fail to make the best use of his men. So the student of war, so we are students of war in the sense of we are studying this. We're not active participants. We're lucky to be in a society where war is not a daily thing that we have to confront. Whether or not the world is at war around us, we're very well insulated here in the United States as far as that is concerned. And so to be a student of war means all of us at every point in our life, whether we realize it or not, are a student of war, because at any point tragedy could strike. And even though you're acquainted with the 5 advantages, you're still going to fail to make the best use of your men unless you're able to be adaptable, or in his words, varying your plans. So let's jump back over to an alternate translation with some insight from some of the generals as well. Chapter 8. So we did a couple last time. Therefore, considerations. They kind of threw a bunch together. So let's spend just a second here. See, I dive right into these most of the time without doing any planning ahead. And so let me see if I can match up the one next. Hints in the wise leader's plans. Consideration. Okay, so to go back to verse 6, it is also included with a couple of other verses, which we touched on Monday. Therefore, generals who know all possible adaptations to take advantage of the ground know how to use military forces. If generals do not know how to adapt advantageously, even if they know the lay of the land, they cannot take advantage of it. If they rule armies without knowing the arts of complete adaptivity, even if they know what there is to gain, they cannot get people to work for them. So you can't be adaptable getting people to work for you, whether you're an employer or a leader or a coach or a teacher or a professor or someone who is a general in their day-to-day life, and even yourself and your emotions of being adaptable on a day-to-day basis. Maybe you ate something and you don't feel good, but you have to suck it up and get back to work anyway. There's all kinds of things, right, that can really affect you and hold you back. And so it's your ability to be adaptable and overcome these things and show that no matter what comes your way, you're going to have the answers. So just to recap, there is no constant structure. If you can fully comprehend this principle, you can get people to work. These adaptations are made on the spot as appropriate and cannot be fixed in advance. And so we do understand that in the heat of the moment, in warfare, you have to be able to not freeze when it's time to fight, right? Because we fight, flight, or freeze, and it's our job and our duty to ourselves to know immediately by studying what we were going to do. So if we're not able to adapt around the five advantages and use those fluidly in our day-to-day life, then we're not going to tell ourselves stories. So entitled from the Daily Stoic for March 6th. March 6th, don't tell yourself stories. In public, avoid talking often and excessively about your accomplishments and dangers, for however much you enjoy recounting your dangers, it's not so pleasant for others to hear about your affairs. Epictetus and Curating 33.14. Everyone is an influencer these days, right? And everybody has no problem telling you what they did today or making a short about their day because, everybody cares about them. So modern philosopher Nassim Taleb has warned of the narrative fallacy, the tendency to assemble unrelated events of the past into stories. These stories, however gratifying to create, are inherently misleading. They lead to a sense of cohesion and certainty that isn't real. So maybe this is about the story that we're telling ourselves, the plan that we make, and then we go out there, we plan it around the 5 advantages, and then we go to war, right? We implement the plan, and we're unable to be adaptable. And so maybe that plan wasn't real. So it's all about this cohesion that he's talking about. If that's too heady, remember that, as Epictetus points out, there is another reason not to tell stories about your past. It's boring, annoying, and self-absorbed. It might make you feel good to dominate the conversation and make it all about you, but how do you think it is for everyone else? Do you think people are really enjoying the highlights of your high school football days? Is this really the time for another exaggerated tale of your sexual prowess? Try your best not to create this fantasy bubble. Live in what is real. Listen and connect with people. Don't perform for them. And I think that's very important in a society, in a digital age, where this is a performance, so to speak, where I'm performing for you right now simply by reading these ancient tomes, not necessarily the Daily Stoic, but pulling out from those ancient tomes of these philosophers through Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. And so make sure that the story you're telling yourself isn't just for entertainment, but it's actually cohesive and it makes sense. And it's not, in a way, defeating.